Imagine waking up one morning, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on your chest, even though the sun is shining, and the world is spinning just as it always has. You reach for your phone, already overwhelmed by the flood of notifications, the relentless barrage of messages, updates, and reminders. Your mind is cluttered, racing through tasks that seem endless, as if you're in a race that was never meant to be won. You don't have the time, the energy, or the clarity to do everything, and every attempt to catch your breath is met with more noise. It feels like the more you try to catch up, the further behind you fall. But here's the question. What if this isn't stress? What if this is something else entirely? What if it's not about too much to do, but about being disconnected from something much deeper inside you? Welcome to a paradox that challenges everything you thought you knew about the way you live your life. You've been told your stress is caused by your busy schedule, your demanding job, or your personal life that's constantly pulling you in different directions. But what if these external forces aren't the real problem at all? What if the real source of your frustration and anxiety isn't outside of you but within? You see, there's something that most people overlook when they talk about stress, the fact that stress is at its core a misalignment. It's a signal. A message from your soul telling you that something isn't in harmony with who you are at the deepest level. It's not the things you have to do, but how out of sync you are with the way you should be living, thinking, and being. Take a moment. Close your eyes and ask yourself, when was the last time you truly felt in alignment? That deep sense of peace, where everything flowed effortlessly, and you were in tune with yourself and your purpose. Can you remember that feeling? Or has it been buried beneath the noise for so long that it seems like a distant memory? But don't be fooled. This misalignment isn't just a fleeting problem. It's a deep philosophical issue that runs to the heart of your very existence. And in this moment, it's trying to communicate with you. Before we dive deeper into what's really going on and why you feel so stressed, I need you to take a step towards understanding. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. This journey is going to challenge everything you think you know, and you won't want to miss the next steps. Now let's explore why this feeling of stress is so prevalent, and why it's far more than just a product of your busy schedule. You may be asking yourself, if stress isn't just about external pressure, then what is it really? To answer that, let's first break down the invisible force at play. The root cause of this disconnection. It's not just about being overwhelmed. It's not about working too hard or managing too many responsibilities. At a much deeper level, it's about being out of alignment with your true self, your core values, and the life you are meant to lead. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is the essence of what we are dealing with. Your stress is the consequence of ignoring the deeper parts of yourself, parts of your psyche that have been suppressed, repressed, or denied for too long. These unconscious forces shape your thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. But because you're not aware of them, they pull you in directions you never intended to go. To understand this better, let's turn to one of the most powerful forces that drive misalignment, what Jung calls the shadow self. This is the part of you that you don't see, the part that you push down because it doesn't fit with the image of yourself you want to project to the world. It's not just your flaws or your bad side, it's the aspects of your personality that you've neglected, ignored, or denied, often because society or your upbringing told you they were unacceptable. And when you ignore these parts of yourself, they don't disappear. Instead, they simmer beneath the surface, silently directing your thoughts, your emotions, and yes, your stress. But Jung wasn't the only one to observe this. Friedrich Nietzsche, the great German philosopher, echoed a similar sentiment. He talked about the concept of becoming who you are, which can only happen when you embrace all aspects of yourself, even the parts you fear or despise. In his view, true power and freedom come from integrating all of who you are, your light and your darkness, into one coherent whole. And yet, in our modern world, we are encouraged to suppress those parts of ourselves that don't fit into a neat, acceptable package. We are told to push through, to ignore the uncomfortable feelings, and to focus on the next task, the next achievement. But in doing so, we create a tension between who we truly are and who we're trying to be. This tension is what manifests as stress. You may not even be aware of this tension at first, but over time, it begins to build. You become irritable, anxious, overwhelmed, and exhausted. You chase external achievements, money, recognition, approval, thinking they will provide relief, only to find that they never quite fill the emptiness inside. This is the paradox. The more you try to force yourself into alignment with external goals, the further you drift from the real alignment that would bring peace and fulfillment. What we fail to see in the modern world is that this kind of stress is often a product of inauthentic living. It's a disconnect between your deeper needs and the pressures of the world. It's a conflict between your internal compass and the external demands placed upon you. And it's not just individual, it's cultural. Aldous Huxley, in his novel Brave New World, warned of a world where people were kept distracted, where superficial satisfaction was valued over meaningful existence. In a sense, we're living that reality now, where we're taught to chase external markers of success, without ever questioning whether those markers align with our deeper, truer purpose. We are constantly being pulled in a million different directions, yet none of those directions seem to bring us any closer to real peace or contentment. This is why stress feels so overwhelming. It's the body's way of signaling that something is out of balance. But rather than listening to this internal message, we push through, thinking that the next accomplishment or the next fix will make everything better. But it never does it? Now that you understand the hidden force driving this tension, your shadow self, and the deep misalignment within you, it's time to explore the unseen consequences. How does this misalignment actually shape your life, your relationships, and your society? The reality is that this disconnection, the misalignment between your true self and the life you're living, has consequences far beyond just feeling stressed or overwhelmed. It subtly, yet profoundly, shapes the way you experience the world. It infiltrates every aspect of your life, your relationships, your work, your health, and even your sense of purpose. Let's begin with the cognitive bias at play here. Most of us operate from a place of cognitive dissonance, a psychological term coined by Leon Festinger, which refers to the discomfort we feel when our beliefs or values conflict with our actions. This dissonance creates a sort of mental tension that we must resolve, either by changing our beliefs or altering our actions. But more often than not, rather than confronting the misalignment, we adjust our thoughts to justify our actions. We tell ourselves that the stress we feel is normal, that it's just part of life, or that we're doing it all for a greater good. But in doing so, we ignore the truth, that the real source of our anxiety is not the work, the deadlines, or the endless list of tasks. It's the fact that we're not living in a way that is true to ourselves. This dissonance doesn't just sit in your mind, it spreads throughout your body as well. Neuroscientific research has shown that when we experience psychological stress, it has a direct impact on our physical health. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods the body, triggering a series of responses that include elevated blood pressure, weakened immune function, and increased inflammation. Over time, this chronic stress can lead to more severe health problems, heart disease, digestive issues, sleep disturbances, and even autoimmune disorders. But again, these symptoms are often dismissed as just part of life, rather than signs of a deeper misalignment. On a societal level, this disconnect is even more pervasive. We live in a world that glorifies the hustle, the grind, and the constant pursuit of success. From an early age, we're taught that our value is tied to what we produce, how much we achieve, and how we measure up to others. And in this culture of constant comparison, we are encouraged to disconnect from our inner selves in favor of external validation. But this outward pursuit comes at a cost, an erosion of authenticity and purpose. How many people do you know who are successful by society's standards, but feel deeply unfulfilled? How many of us find ourselves climbing a ladder, only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall? This is the tragedy of misalignment. It slowly, imperceptibly, distorts our sense of self-worth. It convinces us that we must be something other than who we truly are, in order to be valuable. And the more we conform to this external pressure, the further we get from the person we were always meant to be. You can see it in the rise of burnout, the increase in mental health issues, and the epidemic of depression. We've been so conditioned to believe that success equals happiness, that we've lost touch with the idea that true fulfillment comes from living authentically, from aligning our inner truth with our outward actions. But here's the real kicker. This misalignment doesn't just affect your own life. It ripples out to those around you. It seeps into your relationships, your work environment, and even the way you interact with the world. When you are disconnected from your true self, it becomes almost impossible to connect with others in a meaningful way. The people you love, the colleagues you work with, the communities you are a part of, they all feel the impact of your disconnection, even if it's invisible at first. We've all heard the phrase, "You can't pour from an empty cup." But what if the cup you're pouring from is cracked? What if your very sense of self is fragmented, so that even when you try to give, it feels like something is missing? This is what misalignment does. It leaves you with an internal void that no amount of external success can fill. And that void only deepens when we start to compare ourselves to others. Social media has only intensified this comparison, creating a distorted reflection of what success looks like. We see images of perfection, of people who seem to have it all together, and we convince ourselves that we must be failing if we don't measure up. This endless cycle of comparison feeds the illusion that our stress is a product of external pressure, when in reality, it's the product of our own disconnect from who we are meant to be. The deeper consequence, however, is even more insidious. It's the slow death of meaning. When you're misaligned, when you're living a life that doesn't resonate with your soul's purpose, everything feels like a grind. Your days blur together, each one indistinguishable from the last. You find yourself going through the motions, ticking boxes, meeting deadlines, but never feeling the joy or fulfillment that comes from living a life true to your deepest self. This is not just a temporary phase. This is the silent erosion of your essence. The longer you stay in this misaligned state, the harder it becomes to hear the quiet whispers of your true desires. The question now is, how do you break free? How do you overcome this invisible force that has been quietly shaping your reality? The first step to breaking free from this trap of misalignment and stress is realizing something profound. You have the power to change the very way you see the world and yourself. But to do that, you must be willing to rebel, not against the external forces that pressure you, but against the internal programming that has shaped your life. It's time to shift your perspective completely. It's time to challenge everything you've been taught about success, productivity, and the purpose of life. And here's where it gets revolutionary. The key to breaking free is not about working harder, pushing through the stress, or trying to fix all the external pieces of your life. No. It's about the radical act of alignment. You must realign yourself with what truly matters to you, your core values, your deepest desires, and your authentic truth. Think about this for a moment. Imagine that everything you've been taught about what it means to succeed in life is wrong. Imagine that the real path to happiness and fulfillment doesn't lie in the endless grind, in meeting society's expectations, or in gaining the approval of others. What if the path to fulfillment was always about listening to yourself, quieting the noise and tuning into your true self? This may sound counterintuitive, but consider the lives of those who've broken free from the expectations of society. Take Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, whose work and experiences reshaped how we understand meaning in life. Frankl discovered that even in the most horrific conditions, the one thing that kept people alive was a sense of purpose, something deeper than external success, something they could align their soul with, no matter the circumstances. It wasn't about wealth, recognition, or status. It was about the inner alignment with something that gave life meaning. Or think about the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, who believed that the key to happiness was not striving to fulfill every external desire, but instead accepting the internal desires that arise naturally from within, and letting go of the constant craving for things beyond ourselves. Schopenhauer understood that true peace comes when we stop fighting against our nature, and instead embrace it fully. This is where your rebellion begins, You must stop fighting against yourself. The solution isn't more effort or discipline. It's letting go of the false belief that you need to force alignment. In fact, the more you try to push yourself into alignment, the more misaligned you become. It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. You'll exhaust yourself and still feel incomplete. Instead, you need to allow alignment to happen. You need to surrender to your natural rhythm, to your true purpose. This doesn't mean neglecting your responsibilities or abandoning your goals, but rather approaching them with a renewed sense of clarity. It's about listening to what your soul wants and needs, not what the world says you should want or need. And here's the powerful part. Once you reconnect with your true self, your stress begins to melt away. It's not that the challenges disappear. It's that they no longer feel like obstacles. They become opportunities, tests of your alignment with your deeper purpose. But how do you do this in a practical sense? Start by questioning the beliefs you hold about what success looks like. Do you truly value the things you're pursuing, or are they a reflection of societal conditioning? Ask yourself this uncomfortable question. What would I do if I didn't care what anyone else thought? What if you lived your life solely based on what felt true to your heart, not what you were told you should want? It's also about simplifying your life. Too many of us are trying to do too much, constantly juggling tasks, goals, and responsibilities, thinking that this is the price of success. But the truth is, you don't need to do everything. You don't need to be everything to everyone. In fact, you shouldn't be. Simplifying your life allows you to focus on what truly matters, clearing away the noise and distractions. This is the process of realignment, choosing to focus on fewer things, but giving them your full undivided attention and energy. Another essential step is to embrace the present moment. The reason so many people feel stressed is that they're either living in the past or worrying about the future. The present moment is the only place where true alignment can occur. When you are fully present with what is happening now, your mind clears, your body relaxes, and you begin to reconnect with the natural flow of life. This presence opens up space for your inner wisdom to guide you, showing you the next step, the next move in your journey. This is not some abstract feel-good philosophy. This is about reclaiming your power, power that has always been yours, but that has been buried under the weight of societal expectations, internalized fears, and misguided beliefs. This is the moment where you stop playing by the world's rules and start living by your own. You may be wondering, but what if I have responsibilities? What if I can't just throw everything away and start over? And I'm not asking you to throw your life away. What I'm asking is that you realign yourself with the deepest truth inside you, and then, from that place, make decisions about how to move forward. The point isn't to abandon everything, it's to approach your responsibilities with a new perspective. A perspective where your soul leads, and the rest follows. The breakthrough comes when you realize that you are the creator of your life. The stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm, they were never meant to be permanent states. They were simply signals, messages from your inner self saying, you've lost touch with who you really are. Come back to yourself. And now that you know the way back, it's time to take the first step. The deepest truth you need to understand is this. You are not stressed because life is too hard. You are stressed because you are disconnected from your true self. When you align with who you are at your core, the pressure of the world begins to ease. It's not about avoiding struggle, but about embracing it with a clear sense of purpose and direction. Once you realign, stress becomes a signal for growth, not a weight that drags you down. The ultimate realization is simple yet profound. The life you seek isn't out there waiting for you to chase it. It's already inside you, ready to be uncovered. True peace, fulfillment, and purpose don't come from external achievements, but from being in harmony with who you were always meant to be. So, what are you going to do with this newfound power? The choice is yours. Will you continue to chase fleeting solutions, or will you stop, listen, and align yourself with your deepest truth? The journey back to yourself has already begun.